Make Europe great again. Post compilation of all reasons why LEC is on a downward trajectory, named by pro players, coaches, and streamers in the last few weeks. Topic of a poor LEC performance, which second year in a row didn't qualify out of the Swiss stage. And since 2020, haven't had any decent Worlds performances at all. Becomes super hot this offseason. Multiplied by big roster movements, budget cutting, and big bets on ERO rookies, but why Europe struggles so much and what it takes to bring LEC glory back. I like how it's written by a T1 fan. Nice. Those questions arose in basically every single interview, stream, podcast, Twitter thread in the last 3 weeks, and this post is an ultimate compilation of them. I also love like T1 G2 fans. It's like, damn, how'd you end up with those teams, bro? That's so fucking lucky, actually. You know, like when I watch sports, I'm pretty much just like I'm like a Celtics fan, and I would say like a Chiefs fan. That's how I consume my sports, because I just like teams that win. That's probably like my favorite thing about teams. I'm very deep when it comes to my my ability to really discern what is unique to me within a team, and just winning is really important. Perfect. I love BLG T1 and G2 random teams. Yep. That's how it is, bro. Sometimes you just love all the teams that win. There's simply not many orgs wanting to even win the LEC. Not to say about international performance. I mean, I think the biggest thing that happened this year in the LEC, if I were to say like the issues, sure, there's like format issues, but I think the biggest issue this year is that like the rosters were formed in really poor ways. Like there's a lot of teams that should be good in theory that just aren't good because the player matching is just poor. The way that the players complement each other is just poor. I think it's actually a lot better this year from what I've seen with all the roster leaks. We'll get into those in a second. But I think last year there was just a lot of like teams that were thrown together where it's just you're wasting talent in the LEC. Like LEC, you don't have that many good players. So wasting like 2 good players on a bunch of teams that have no ambition is just, it's just shit. You know? Like BDS was a fine team. BDS was a fine team. I guess they were okay. Fnatic, it's just there's blatant flaws within the system. When you look at like other rosters that should have been good, I mean, things like K-Corp, I mean, you have Upset there, you had Bo there, who are 2 LEC talents, and you surround them with a bunch of like veterans that are essentially rookies. The whole point of veterans is that your veterans are supposed to be able to like have an idea of like what winning and like what performing in the LEC is like, and they can kind of raise the bar for the rookies on your team. They can help acclimate them. If you look at how Inspired and Bwipo, people were flaming them at the beginning of the year because they were hard on Masu, or like they would say things in interviews that people were like, oh, you can't talk about your teammates like that. But one thing that Inspired has always been really good at has been incorporating rookies into the LCS or LEC and teaching them exactly what they need to be good at in order to be successful. And that was something that he did on EG. That was something that like Jojo has credited him for, something that he's done a lot for Masu. And I think I don't think it's just obviously I think Masu and Jojo are talented, but I don't think that it's just like, oh, Inspired got lucky that like the rookies that he played with are good. I think that he also just understands how to really make like the advantages that those rookies have, making them shine. So I feel like the pairing of Cabo Shard and Socket, it's like they're not doing anything like those are like, I don't know, like is Socket supposed to be a rookie? Is he supposed to be a veteran? Like the whole goal would be you put talented players that can like structure the game around a mechanical talent like Bo, and you would have like them do the other parts of the game and allow him to do what he's really good at, which is like getting leads, carrying fights. Like he's really good at fighting. He has really good mechanics. Allow him to like use that to thrive. But they just didn't, they kind of just do their own thing. I mean, they're constantly losing lane. Like I think Socket had pretty much, in my opinion, he had almost no redeemable qualities at the LEC level. He didn't team fight well. He didn't lane well. His side laning wasn't good. He couldn't really play things that engage. I mean, my biggest issue with Socket is he never could play things that could engage. So Nico was meta. He wasn't a good Nico. He couldn't play Azir, which was like a safe like laner. He couldn't play Akali, for example. He had one of the worst Akalis I've ever seen. There's just nothing that he did well at the LEC level. So you have like, players like Bo and Upset that were just kind of wasted on K-Corp. Then you have Vitality, which was another train wreck of a team where it's like Carzzy is one of the LEC talents. He's somebody who you want to see on a good team. He's somebody who's performed at a high level, and he's like a pretty clutch player. He seems like he's kind of like a big game player as well. And you have him playing on that Vitality team where, I mean, obviously like Hilly was inting quite a bit. and people like will in retrospect, people will be like, oh no, like because Bwipo, said that it's because his teammates didn't trust him, whatever. Like, Hilly was not in great form. I'll say that. Confidently, he wasn't in great form. And when you look at like the people around him, it's just Carzzy wasn't set up to succeed. You have SK with the same type of idea where it's like there's too many rookies that aren't ready yet paired with veterans. Like, you want to have the talented rookies and like good veterans on the same team. That's what you'd ideally have. And you don't have that in the LEC. One thing that I like about the LEC rosters next year is it seems like a lot of the rosters are put together in a way more like intelligent way. Like Mad Lions overperform my expectations. Like I thought they would be pretty bad. One of the reasons I thought they would be pretty bad, if people go back to what my original reasoning was for Mad Lions being a bad team in the LEC, I thought that Alvaro and Elyoya were good, but I thought that their carries were not going to be good enough to get them over the line. I thought Frescowy was bad, and I thought Supa was bad. Supa actually played pretty well, so he surprised me. He exceeded expectations. He overachieved, but Frescowy did just look like Frescowy, and I think that honestly, Frescowy was worse than how he looked a lot of the time in the LEC. There was a lot of times where he would like lose lane so hard that Humanoid and Caps would kill themselves trying to kill Frescowy. Like, it was really weird. Like, he would have this like bait factor where he would lane so terribly in a matchup that's supposed to be good that the person that loses early levels would try to kill him, and then he would like randomly like get a kill, and it's like, so now am I supposed to say that Frescowy like solo killed Caps in lane? Am I supposed to say that? Because in reality, what was happening was like Humanoid and Frescowy and Caps would just kill themselves into Frescowy. Like, they would kill themselves, bro. Like, he was so bad he borderline baited the enemy team into actually fucking just suiciding. So yeah, I don't know. I always thought that he was a problem, and we saw that at the top level he's just a liability. You can't have somebody who's a bad carry set up on a team that is supposed to be decent. Yeah, I mean, you look down the roster. There's the Heretics team where it's like they had the opposite problem. They had the people that could set up the game. They had zero firepower. Their firepower was like Flockhead, who is essentially plays like a veteran, bro. He's like a weak side player at his core. And then you also have Zweiru, which is like just not a rookie, bro. This guy's like 25 years old. I mean, him and Frescowy, I just didn't think that they added anything to the LEC, to be honest. Maybe I'm a hater, but I feel like Zweiru and Frescowy I could just do without having ever seen them in the LEC. Like, you can just tell when you watch a player most of the time. Like, I mean, you could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of the times you're going to be right. You can just see which players like have it and which players don't. And I just can't imagine Zweiru or Frescowy ever being a top tier player in the LEC. You know, I can just never see it happening. They just don't look individually good enough. I mean, you see some of the plays they go for, the 1v1s, their general mechanics, and it's like, I feel like there's just something missing in their play. Please not Gen G versus BLG finals. That's the finals I want. I want BLG Gen G. If I said that they wanted Caps and JoJo, but couldn't get either of them, so they got Frescowy because he was the best option at the time. I mean, he also was just on like the team with Supa and Alvaro, right? Like, he just came from the system under Melzet, so makes sense.